You're watching the Politicit Podcast.
Good evening. Welcome to Politicit Podcast. I'm Senator John Johnson, and we've got Scott Fletcher with us today.
How are you?
Candidate for Seat A of Davis County Commission.
That's right.
Nice to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get to know you a little bit, and so to start with, why don't you just explain kind of who you are and how you got messed up in this whole deal?
Great question. So. Who I am is I've been a Davis County resident for over 66 years.
Wow.
So I grew up there. My ancestors lived there. In fact, my great-great-grandfather gave property to Centerville City for a park. And so his name is called Smith Park. It's right on Main Street in Centerville. And so how I got involved in this is, so I've been a state delegate. I've been a county delegate. I was the vice chair of the Davis County Republican Party. And I've been involved in politics for a while. I'm not a politician, I'm a business guy, but I've been involved in the middle of it because I believe that the citizens should come first. I believe that the citizens we should represent. And when I stood back and looked at what's going on currently in our county, I was quite frankly disturbed. I think you talked to Susan Lee about the whole tax issue.
Right.
That was kind of an impetus behind why I got involved in all this. And the 30% tax increase was I dug down into it deeper. And so I saw a lot of things, special interests was being represented. There was a lot of non-transparency. There were decisions that were not strategic that were being made, and that frustrated me. So I'm a physicist, and so I dig into the data.
Right.
Data is important to me. I've been doing it for 42 years. I've run multi-million and been affiliated with multi-billion-dollar contracts. I've had profit and loss responsibility. And so I know how to run a business. I've had that responsibility over my career. And so I wanted to bring those skill sets to the table. And then I had others currently that are in the political realm in Davis County that came to me and asked me to run as well. And so all those things kind of together.
Right.
And timing for me personally was good. Like most people, you grow up, you go to school, take care of your family. Then they come back and live with you so they can afford a house, right? Get a payment. Then we took care of our parents. And within the last year, my mother-in-law passed away. And so that was my focus, is to take care of my family as well as be a good member of the citizen of Davis County. And so now was the time it was right. And so I felt this was a good time to bring my skill sets, which I think are very applicable to what we're doing here. So
let's go back and talk about you personally.
Okay.
So where'd you go to school? You grew up in Davis County.
Grew up in Davis County. I am a graduate of Davis High School. In fact, my mom and dad graduated from Davis High School. Oh. And so I grew up there. I grew up in Centerville and Bountiful.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, the dirt road going up where the Parish Lane was a dirt road. I-15 didn't exist.
Oh, wow.
My buddies and I would go down on I-15 and go camping as a kid. I grew up on the side of my grandfather's tractor as he plowed the fields. So I think it was pretty idyllic kind of growing up in Davis County doing that.
Lagoon was right there.
Lagoon was right there. We used to ride our bikes to Lagoon and go to the Penny Arcade and have a good time. So I lived there, and then of course I went to school. I went to the University of Utah State, and Weber. All three of those universities I was. So as a physicist, I have some extensive educational things that I've done, and then I went to work for Thiokol Corporation and worked on a lot of the missile systems that are out there, as well as the shuttle.
Oh.
So I was around when they had the shuttle disaster, and I was on the recovery team to rebuild the entire shuttle. So at that time we were working 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week for many, many years. And so it was, and then I was picked up by some other companies to be their executive in the local area. I worked for a multinational company as a vice president. And most recently, I retired at 62. And then I was asked to come back because of my skill sets in systems engineering and integration, which I think is directly applicable to this job.
Right.
And so
you're on that ICBM.
I'm on the ICBMs, right? And so they're rebuilding a brand new ICBM, and so I'm in the middle of that.
Right.
So that's been critical. Other things about me, so I've got 4 kids. They're all married, 11 grandchildren. So they all live in Davis County.
They all live in Davis.
They all live in Davis County. So if you don't think I have a vested interest in Davis County, I absolutely do.
Right.
And my wife and I just celebrated on the 8th our 42nd wedding anniversary.
Wow.
So I'm very proud of that.
42nd.
42nd.
Wow. So you got interested because you had some people approach you from the county.
Right.
What are your aspirations for the county?
Well, many. The first and foremost, I think, is we need to take a very strategic look at what the county has done and what they are doing, and the reason why we're kind of in the mess we are with the increase in taxes. And so the way to do that is really take a lot of the skill sets I developed over those 42 years of assessing data. So let me give you a couple of examples.
Okay.
So when you purchase something, whether you purchase a home or a business or a car or anything really, there's not only the initial acquisition cost, but then there's all these recurring costs.
Right.
And we haven't strategically looked at that very well in the county. And what's happened is that's impacted the taxpayer. And so some examples are the Western Sports Park, for example. Well, the cost of operating that is around $8 million a year. Well, we're not making $8 million a year on the Western Sports Park. If we're lucky to make 4, so the taxpayer has to cover the remaining 4. The convention center loses between $1 and $2 million a year. We're talking about a new healthcare facility for pets. I know you talked to Susan a little bit about that as well. So, we're talking about a $20 million acquisition cost. We're going to put 2 veterinarians in there, pay for them, and then all the other facility costs and the support personnel. And the guess is right now somewhere between $4 and $6 million a year to operate that. Well, where's all that money coming from? It's coming from the taxpayer. So although there are things that the commission that we should do as Davis County in terms of providing services, I'm a strong believer in whatever business can do. The first question you said, can business do this better? Can private industry do this better than what the county can do it? And if the answer is yes, then we need to let private business run that kind of activity. And I think right now we've gotten into a lot of things in the county that should be run by business. And therefore, it's costing the taxpayers money. Because in the end, it's their money. We're representing the taxpayer.
Right.
We're not representing special interest. And I think that's gotten way too much into it. That's one. Second reason is transparency. So right now, I go to the meetings, the commission meetings, that are held at Tuesdays at like 10 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
Well, there's not many people that can make a Tuesday at 10 o'clock meeting.
Right.
We want to move those to the evening so people can know what's going on. Plus, we want to put out a newsletter that says, here's the stuff we're talking about at the commission meeting. Here's the impact to the budget. And here's some talking points, and have people come in and actually engage. So there's something that I'm very passionate about, which is I call citizen committees.
Uh-huh.
And so what that is bringing in citizens across the county, provide them with the necessary data. Let's talk about an example. Let's say water. It's a big issue, right? So we bring in civil engineers and water engineers from the local universities, as well as people who run Weber Basin Water, farmers, local citizens, and then be able to provide them from the experts, here's a gallon of water, what happens to it?
Right.
And then be able to come up with some solution sets. And the reason why that's important is because I think one of the key things that the commissioners have to realize is they're not experts in every single thing.
Right.
And we need to bring people who are experts in with data.
To help with that.
To help exactly do that. And then give the citizens an opportunity to assess that, come up with options, present it to the commission, let us come up with a solution together, and then present it to the broader community.
Right.
So instead of making decisions beforehand and just pandering to the citizens, which is I think we do now, this is all about getting them involved, Citizens need to be involved. It eliminates apathy in our county, which I think is a big issue because they're not informed.
Right.
So those are the key things that I really would like to do. So transparency is big. Making decisions based in real, no kidding data. Being very strategic about what we do, and really representing the citizens. That's why I'm running. I have no desire to be a career politician. That's far out. I'm really here to do a job to really represent the citizens going forward.
Yeah, very good. Hey, we're going to take a break,
okay,
and then we'll come right back.
All right.
Tired of media bias? Frustrated by political noise? Politicit.com cuts through the clutter, giving you real facts, clear analysis, and unbiased insight on the issues that matter most. Stay informed, stay empowered. Whether it's elections, policy changes, or breaking news, we've got you covered. No spin, no agendas, just truth you can trust. Visit Politicit.com today, because informed citizens shape the future. Politicit.com, where politics meets clarity.
Welcome back to Politicit. We've got Scott Fletcher with us. So great talking to you.
You too.
I'm glad you came in. So before the break, we talked a little bit about what your plans are for the city. These expert panels that you want to put together. But let's talk a little bit about the election.
Okay.
What's going on with that?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So for the past 3.5, 4 months, every night, almost every single night, there's been an event. So I'm very grateful for the Davis County Republican Party for sponsoring a lot of the events, for one. We've been out talking to the people, and then I've been knocking doors, trying to do that very often. And simply just talking to people and trying to put the message out of where I'm at. And quite frankly, I had really great support, and the message has been well received, because so the issue is not only what people say, because everybody can make all these wonderful claims, right? And everybody can have a sign, right? Well, signs don't evaluate the data.
Right.
Pontificating about, well, I'm going to do all this stuff doesn't do it. So one thing that I'm trying to bring to the table is processes. So over the past, like we talked about, over 42 years of my career, I've had to use specific processes associated with making decisions.
Right.
Because the difference, quite frankly, between working in private industry and in the government is if I make bad decisions, if I don't evaluate the data correctly, if I don't work with people and collaborating with them to make things go forward, I go out the door.
Right.
Well, in government, that's not always the case, is that they just tax the people some more. So the processes I use are pretty direct and straightforward. So whenever you do a business case analysis, and you've probably heard those words before, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So schedule, cost, performance, risk, and in the county, it's quality of life has to be assessed. And so some of that stuff, like they're trying to do away with the golf course, Davis Park Golf Course, right? Well, that's a quality of life issue that really shouldn't do. Plus, it makes money, right? So there's some of the issues. So not only that, but then when you evaluate progress, you use earned value management, right? So you look at what the costs are over time and what the milestones have to be, and that's the kind of things we need to do to be able to track progress after we've made a decision to move forward. So we can tell the citizenry, this is how we're moving forward. This is how we're executing against your money.
And that communication is really crucial, isn't it?
It's critical. That's why we want to move those. We talked about the committee meetings, or the county meetings happening on Tuesdays during the day. We want to move those to the evening. Right. And get citizens involved. Furthermore, I've been talking to John Croft. We want to put together a newsletter. We talk a little bit about that. So having what we're talking about, what the impact is, so people can come loaded. And quite frankly, if the commissioners can't answer the question, they better go back to the drawing board and figure them out, because we are responsible once again to the citizens.
Yeah, with email and texting now, that's a lot less expensive.
Yeah, right.
Right, and so it's kind of a nice thing to lay out.
We can
get people to sign up for it. And
exactly right.
Opt into it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people. I mean, I get approached every day. Hey, We love, every time I go to a meeting in the evening and I bring this up, I at least have 6 to 12 people that come up to me after says, I want to be part of that. I'll volunteer to do that.
Right.
This is not a paid position. This is seriously volunteer work.
Right.
Because people are interested in what's going on in their community.
Right. So tell me some of your plans for the county.
Well,
you talked about some of them.
yeah. So let's talk about. So I actually got a question last night when I was at an event from a young man that said, "What's your 100-day plan?" I thought it was a great question.
Yeah.
Quite frankly. And so first off, you have to take care of your own house, right? So the first question, or the first thing that we would do, and I've talked to John about this, and John Croft about this, and Susan as well, is we need to look across what we're doing in the county, what functions they're performing. Now I realize a lot of that's mandated by the state. I get that. So there are requirements that have to be met. But I would say the first thing we need to do is 2 critical things. One is each organization, each director needs to come back with a specific charter. The charter, and this is what you do in business, right? There's a charter that comes in, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and here's a budget associated with that going forward. So our responsibility to go back and kind of do an assessment and say, do we have duplication of effort, first off? And does that make sense against the budget that we really have to move forward? Furthermore, how can we look at reducing our taxes locally? So that would be the number one thing.
Right.
Okay, right out of the box. The second thing is I think we need to take a really hard look at the decisions that the commissioners have currently made in terms of the healthcare facility for pets.
Right.
Right. They're planning on breaking ground soon. There are some issues associated with that and where it's at. So we need to take a really hard look at not only what the upfront.
The biggest problem there is not just paying for the facility, it's
the recurring cost.
It's the recurring cost.
Right. So we need to really look at the recurring costs and does that make sense? Same thing for the Western Sports Park. Same thing for the Davis County Convention. There's a USU facility down by the Kaysville Ponds off of 15.
Right.
Well, do you realize that costs the taxpayer $350,000 a year that we pay to that? That's after
Davis County.
The Davis County. After we gave them the property.
Right.
After we built the facility. After we improved the facility for horses, which about 2 or 3 dozen people use. And there's currently a contract in place that after 10 years, we just give the whole thing to USU. County's pretty generous, I would say. Right.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things like that. We need to really take a hard look of where we're at. So you can't make any real changes until you do that.
Until you understand
the landscape. So I was going to bring the book, and I'm sorry I didn't, but the released annual budget, the 23 to 24 budget's out. The 25 has not been fully audited yet, so it's not out. So I have gone through that page by page by page, and so it's all dog-eared. It's got yellow stickies hanging out of it, right? So there's some really interesting things that I found in that. So, and we can talk about high-density housing. Now, I realize that the county doesn't have, it's really put upon the cities, and this 17% of every city in high-density housing. But if you look at the data, is that from 2016 to 2026, there's been an average of about 1.3% growth, okay? And there's been a substantial reduction in the amount of people that have been born, children. It's gone from about 5,500 down to just over 3,000.
Wow.
So there's been a consistent drop in. So most people are moving in, and that accounts for that, the majority of that 1.3%, for example, right? Well, at the same time, the build rate that we've gone with these high-density housing in the cities has been between 2 and 4% against the population. Now, think of that.
At some point, you're kind of overbuilt.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the data is pretty clear. It's not an opinion.
Right.
We've got to get away from opinions and special interest driving decisions. We've got to get down to the brass tacks of what the data tells you.
Right.
The other things that I saw were that there were certain line items, and you know, you've seen a budget. It's 50 line items long, but a number of the line items for general services, for example, from 23 to 24 grew by 32, one was by 32%, the other was 34%, whereas the actual increase in population in Davis County was 1%. Now, those things just don't make sense.
Right.
So you've got to stand back and look at the real hard data.
Yeah, we certainly have inflation worse than we've had.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Right.
And you have to account for that.
Right.
Absolutely. But you have to really look hard at these kind of things and say, why? What's the impact? And so when you do that, you come up with really good information that's not opinion.
Right.
And the citizens, we owe the citizens the data necessary in order that they can help us make.
They can kind of see where you're going. Right.
It's their money. In the end, it's their money.
Right.
I see it as sacred funds, quite frankly.
Right.
And it should be looked at as sacred funds, and we need to lose it. I'll give you another example. So the $10 tax we have on your car, not a lot, right? It was for the West Davis corridor, the highway that went in. Well, that corridor's been done for a long time. Has the tax gone away yet? No. So Bob Stevenson and Lorraine went up to the State House and tried to get those funds kept in place for other facilities without really telling the citizens what they were doing. I think that's a misrepresentation, quite frankly.
Right.
But there's just not one thing. There never is one thing. It's a lot of small things and some big things that we need to really look at.
That add up.
Yeah, that add up.
Well, we're about out of time, but if you just take a few minutes and explain in that camera what why should people vote for you?
Yeah. Well, thank you. First off, well, thanks for having me. I appreciate that. So there's three big keys for me. Number one is I bring the experience to bear. So that experience is not only running large programs, but I also spent 11 years flying back and forth to Washington, D.C., working with the House and Senate Appropriations Committee and with the DOD and with the Pentagon, and actually went and talked to governors across different places, trying to put in place, by the way, I was not a lobbyist. I was a special envoy, kind of a technical guy who went back there to explain hard technical things. And so the objective was to try to maintain our industrial base,
right,
which we've kind of lost. I mean, we got the problems with chips now.
Right.
So extensive experience in collaboration, building teams to go pursue things that make good sense. So I know how to collaborate. I know how to run business. I know how to do, we talked about the processes, business case analysis. Right. So I want to bring all that to bear. So I've got the experience, and I've demonstrated that experience over time, run multi-million and multi-billion-dollar contracts with profit and loss responsibility. So that's one. So the second piece of that is the processes. So a lot of people will talk about, well, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. But unless you have the know-how and the processes in place that you know how to evaluate the data and make hard decisions, and then bring the citizens to bear in that process so it's a collaborative way moving forward. This is really about the citizens.
Right.
But establishing and put forward best processes. And the last thing, which I think is the most important, which is the tenacity to get it done. So a lot of people will be taken off the mark by whatever external pressure that gets applied. I've got the tenacity, I've demonstrated over 42 years to put these things forward and make citizens part of it. So it really requires, I think, those three key things. And I would ask for your vote for Scott Fletcher for County Commission Seat A, and I'll bring those skills to bear. And the most important thing is I will represent the citizens of Davis County.
Thank you very much,
I
Scott Fletcher. Nice to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And we'll see you guys next week.